Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are going to be working with stamps, dies, our mini empress, and color box inks to create some icons and sentiments that we can use on any card surface. This is the treasury of stamps and dies. It is a set from Anna Griffen, and it has stamps that come in all kinds of occasions. These are the birthday stamps and dies, and also the celebration. So you see some rattles for baby cards, or cakes and balloons for the birthday cards, and you see the dies on the back. They have the die that cuts out the stamp, and also a shadow layer die that you can use. So right now we're going to start by taking our cake off of our carrier sheet and stamping it using our stamping platform. Now, I am not very good at stamping, so I just really cut out all of the bad parts, and I use a stamping platform because I am pretty bad at stamping. I actually hardly never use it. And then I've seen people using this thing on their stamping platforms called a Chucky, and so I went and got something that I use to move furniture around in my house, and I'm trying that out to see if that helps at all or if it's just not gonna work out for me. But that's what you see in my hand that I'm rubbing over the top of the stamp platform. Now I'm going to stamp this 4 times using my reddish pink color box ink here. These are pigment inks, and so you can do some embossing at the end of your stamping, or you can just go over them with a heat gun because they stay wet for a longer amount of time. So after we're done stamping with these, we will be putting some embossing powder over the top and going over them with a heat gun. So I'm just going to stamp each one of these 4 times and fast forward through everything so it's not taking forever, because I understand that that can be frustrating just to watch someone stamping. And this video is mostly about, I'm doing this video because someone asked me to use my Empress Mini because they just got one and they wanted to see someone using it and taking it out of the box and using it. Well, of course mine is already out of the box, so hopefully this encourages them to get theirs out of the box and use it. So here I am putting some Martha Stewart clear embossing powder over the top of the stamps, and just using my paper to put the embossing powder back into the container. Now, you actually probably want to use your embossing buddy before doing this, but for some reason I forgot to do that. And so I'm just gonna use my heat tool until everything turns and is properly melted. And then we can start talking about using the Empress Mini. Now, I'm not gonna show you how to configure your plates and all of that, but I will walk you through it or talk you through it, because my plates are horrendous. They look horrible. They've been stretched. I've had to cut them because they've grown to bigger than their original size, and I have shims under there just to create pressure and all this other stuff. But the first thing that you want to do to make sure when you're using your Empress Mini is that your paper is only the size of the opening of the Empress, because if not, things will shift and that will move your die and that won't be good. Right now what I'm doing is I'm just using the larger shadow die to create an apparatus to use to line up and center over the top of my stamp to make sure that when I cut out my stamp that it doesn't cut with a white outline or too much of an outline, but it cuts exactly where I need it to. And so you'll see right here in the picture after I put my die on there, so you just nestle it in there, that my paper is too long. So if I would have just went with that, then it would have moved everything and moved my die, and I wouldn't have liked that. So I cut that little piece off, and now I can run it through the Empress Mini. The Mini is amazing because it makes everything really quick and easy, but the one thing is you have to have a certain size paper only in there. So you see it cut out perfectly, our cake, and using that apparatus really works. And on this one, I didn't do such a good job lining it up. So you'll see the difference between lining it up properly and not lining it up properly. So I'm not going to show every piece of die cutting and all of that, but with the Empress Mini, you're going to want to have one clear plate down, which is your A plate. Then you're going to want to, if yours is brand new, just use your magnetic mat because it's thick enough to give you a great result. And then put down your paper, put your die over the top. That's my personal preference to cut into my magnetic mat. That is not everyone's personal preference. If you want to cut into your clear plate, then put your die down first and put your paper over the top of it. Either method, then put your clear plate on the top, and that is your sandwich for die cutting in your Empress Mini. Now, once your Empress you've used it a little while and your mat is starting not to cut the way that you want it to, add on the metal shim underneath to add a little more pressure. Now, once you have a little more pressure, it'll start cutting again just like it does, because what happens is that magnetic mat starts to flatten and spread out. It grows, it gets larger. And so for me, I like to be frugal and I don't want to keep buying magnetic mats when I can keep using this one. So what I do is I either turn it over and keep on using it, because if you see the other side of this magnetic mat, you'll be like, whoa, it looks like a train wreck. But I turned it over, use the other side. I also will keep adding in shims, and I keep cutting it so it grows, and then I just cut the sides, cut the top, cut it back to the size of the Empress. Now, that's a lot of information for a newbie, so don't worry about that right now. But all of you who have been cutting a long time like me know, and so if you are not getting great results with your magnetic mat and you're not ready to buy another one, flip it over, cut it down, keep on using it. Don't worry, it will still work. As you can clearly see, I am still going on and on with mine, and I use it almost every single day. All right, so here's the present. Same process. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to use a different ink color, and I'm just going to let this go really quickly through that, cutting out 4 different colors. I mean, not 4 different colors, 4 of the present shape in the blue color. And then on to embossing and die cutting. Now, what I was thinking was that I should have cut them all or stamped them all in the same color, because I was like, well, we're going to make a card. And then I don't want it to be blue stuff, pink stuff, gold stuff, green stuff. I want it all to match and coordinate, but by the time I was finished, it was too late and I had already done it. So make sure if you're making a card that you really think about your color scheme and cut everything out of the same colors and that you're gonna need. And clean your stamp when you're done. It won't look completely clean if you're just using a white, but you can always go and wash them in the sink. Mine still don't come completely clean, but I know that they are clean enough, and I can go back and stamp them again. So there will still be some staining on my particular stamps because I'm only just using soap and water, nothing else. But that's okay with me. And so just gonna use that same Martha Stewart embossing powder. It's a clear powder. Now each one of these inks also has their own embossing powder. So I have the blue, I have the pink, I have the green, I have the gold. And I will be using the gold embossing powder so that you can see that. But right now I decided I just wanted to use the clear. So on to die cutting. I really like this die cutting your aperture. I think that's what it's called, or your, die cut out your aperture so that you can use it to really center your dies. Sometimes I feel very lazy and I don't want to do it, but I will regret it if I don't do it because I won't get a good die cut. And so we're just going to continue on cutting out our present shape using the die that came with the set. And did any of you guys notice that the Create Crop at Home is now on sale on the Anna Griffen website? It looks really amazing. The colors of the papers, the dies that we're gonna get, and everything. But it is $495. I do believe last year I paid for the Create Crop at Home. It was like $250. So it has doubled in price and is now probably not out of my price range, and I won't be able to go. Tell me who's going to Create Crop at Home. If you are, I'm so happy for you. I would love to go, but I can't do both. So I am a card maker, so I'm going to try and do the Create, probably Create 8, I guess by now, in November. And hopefully that one has not doubled in price. So yeah, that really shocked me and threw me for a loop. I was all gung-ho about going, waiting for the tickets to go on sale, but that really sent me like, whoa. I said, whoa, okay, maybe next time. I understand that it's a lot of the shipping and all of that probably that's going on, so I understand that everything's going up right now, not just Create Crop at Home. You know, it's like toilet paper and shampoo and everything. So it's just where we are right now in the world. But we can cut out balloons and stamp them and that is not gonna cost us anything. So I stamped these in gold, and this is where I'm using the gold embossing powder. It did come with that gold pigment ink, and so we're just gonna go ahead and make these balloons sparkle and shine with gold. I should have used my embossing buddy once again. I kept thinking about it the whole time and kept forgetting the whole time. And there's some places on here where the embossing powder stuck where I didn't want it, clearly, because I didn't use the embossing buddy. So I'm using a little small paintbrush just to dust off the embossing powder that's where I don't want it. And then using my heat tool and going ahead and melting that embossing powder. The pretty thing about the gold is you can see it melting on camera. With the clear, you couldn't see it, so you don't get that like aha moment of, oh my gosh, the powder went from a dark brown to a beautiful shiny gold. And here I cut out the outline die, shadow layer, and gonna stick those on. Now something kept happening to the bottom of these balloons. The cut is too small at the bottom and they just kept falling apart. So disappointing. But I glued them back on and we're just gonna keep going because that's what we do. We can't not have bottoms to the balloons. We have to have it. So glued them back on and stuck them down and going with it. And these came out really, really great. I've never been one to just sit down and cut out a bunch of random shapes. I didn't know what I was gonna do with them. I didn't know what I was gonna use them on. But this has been pretty fun. And knowing that I now have them on hand for when I need them makes me happy. And so we're gonna cut out some sentiments. The reason why I never really just did it is because, you know, if I cut out 4 blue presents, but when I go to make my next card, I need 4 pink presents, then I just have to start and do it again. So I feel like I wasted my time making 4 blue presents. And then I'll say, well, now I need to make a blue card. When I don't want to make a blue card, I want to make a pink one because I need to use these blue presents. So that's why I don't really cut things out in advance. But, you know, I think, you know, there's something to be said about having some on hand and just ready and available to go when you're ready to make a card. And hopefully, if you know your style and your color palette that you like to use a lot, you'll cut out the ones that make sense to you. And I think that these definitely can be used because this is the Anna Griffen color palette. And so mostly what we use with her products. And so this should work pretty good no matter what. And, you know, when I look at a lot of her sentiments, they're pink. So I decided with the sentiments and the borders to just be safe and go with the pink. A pink, a black, a gold, any of those would be safe. But for the purposes of this video, I just went with pink because I don't have a black color box pigment ink right now. I have a black pigment ink, but it's not by color box and it wasn't gonna look the same in the frame. So this is what the frames look like. You know, and this reminds me, so if you watched her preview for March the 1st, she's gonna have an embossing folder that cuts out these backgrounds, embosses them for you to add your sentiments to, and then she'll have a box of just pre-cut out sentiments that are on a flat sheet that you can punch out and then add to them. Well, it's kind of like this. Now, I want her to come out with one that is an impression die. So I'm thinking about skipping the embossing folder in hopes that she comes out with one that's an impression die, because that would be way better for me because I'm loving the impression dies. And actually that makes me reminds me that I was thinking not only do I want her to do an impression die for those sentiment backgrounds, I want her to do a treasury of impression dies. So just like this with cakes and balloons and all those kind of things, but a treasury with that comes in a folder like this one with all of the impression dies and inks and sentiments, and that would make my heart just jump out of its chest and make me so happy. So I'm going to suggest that to her. So these are our finished cutouts and what they look like and how now we're going to use them on a card. Now I already made the card. I'm not going to make it live on TV, but this is what they look like. So you can kind of just add them to anything. I didn't want them to look cartoonish, so I added them to something that I think looks really, really great. So if you like this video and you are enjoying this channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with a crafty friend. And thanks for watching. Bye.